Hey, it's Professor Hitch here, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about feminist theory. So here we go. First, I want to start with some common misconceptions about feminist theory. For one thing, a lot of women believe that being a feminist means being anti-feminine. But actually, feminism is about having choices. If a woman wants to be feminine, she can be, but that should be something that she picks, not something that she was expected to do. So you can, in fact, be very feminine and also be a feminist. A lot of men believe it's not possible to be a feminist, but in fact, feminism is a lot broader than that. Feminism is about equality between the sexes, and that involves men as much as women. So what is feminism? Feminism is a range of political movements, ideologies, and social movements that share a common goal: to define, establish, and achieve political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. It's all about equality. Feminism is often misinterpreted as women finally beating men or something like that, but it's really furthest from the case. It's all about equality. Feminist criticism examines the ways in which literature and other things that culture makes, like movies, TV shows, and so on, strengthens or weakens the economic, political, social, and psychological oppression of women. What's this about the oppression of women? Well, here we go. It would be understandable for any man reading this today to think, wait, I haven't oppressed anyone today. Or for women reading this to think, hold on, my dad is oppressing me. How? However, when you read oppression, don't think one person, place, or thing. Oppression doesn't work like that. Oppression is a large system that we may not even fully understand. No one person may be literally contributing to it, but us collectively as a group, we're all contributing to it in just a small way, shape, or form. For example, until the late 1960s, the literary works of male authors describing experience from a male point of view was considered universal, and universality a sign of greatness, leading to many popular female authors becoming obscure or just disappearing from history. Ask yourself the following question. Does J.K. Rowling, a gender-neutral name, still become famous if you know her as Joanne Rowling, a female name? Hopefully, yeah, I would love to hope so, but I don't know so. In many Hollywood films, even today, the camera eye, the point of view from which the film was shot, is male. Female characters are objects and often eroticized. Although it's not impossible, and certainly it's becoming more common in 2020, you just don't see TV shows and movies where the men are overtly sexy and the camera hangs extra long over the dashing man who takes off his shirt and flashes us his abs. Now, some of us, like myself, would love to have that happen, but as of today, it's not really a common thing. Some key terms that you're going to want to know. Sex. Our biological constitution as female or male. I want to stop us right there. That's there's more to that definition than what I'm covering right now. There are many more components to sex than just that. For the basics of literary analysis and specifically feminist theory, I want to try to keep it that simple. Biological constitution is male or female. Gender. Our cultural programming as feminine or masculine. Social constructionism. The concept that women are not born feminine and men are not born masculine. The thing is, guys are not born knowing that they like trucks. You look at a little child, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, they don't know what their gender is supposed to be like. They learn it over time. There's a concept called patriarchy. In short, any culture that privileges men by promoting traditional gender roles. And then, of course, there are traditional gender roles, ideas that cast men as rational, strong, protective, and women as emotional, weak, and nurturing. What are some problems with traditional gender roles? Well, because men have generally been endowed by nature with stronger muscles, super athletic women are generally looked down upon as manly or not pretty. And in doing so, it suppresses the number of women who may try to match men in that way. If men are quote unquote generally more muscular, and we like it that way as a society, then women are not going to attempt to change that. Because traditional gender roles dictate that men are supposed to be strong, they are not supposed to cry because crying is a sign of weakness. But like, actually, that's a very human thing to cry. We should all be crying. It shouldn't matter what our gender is. For similar reasons, it's considered unmanly for men to show fear or pain or to express sympathy for other men because the patriarchy assumes only mute and stoic forms of male bonding are free of homosexual overtones. In other words, no homo. Can't believe I just said that in a lecture video, but it's true. That expression, no homo, gets right exactly at this point. There are some things that are not considered very manly for men, and I'll take it a step further and say there are some things that are considered gay. Now, as somebody who's gay myself, I would be the first to tell you that's not how being gay works. It's not just how you act, right? But there are some men who are so terrified of being misconstrued as gay that they'll actually say things like, no homo, just to clarify that their totally human emotion is not a sign of their homosexuality. A summary of feminist premises. Women are oppressed by the patriarchy. This is just a thing. You may not necessarily agree with this, but this is what feminism is. All Western civilization is deeply rooted in patriarchal ideology. Look no further than the monsters of Greek and Roman mythology. Why does Medusa have to be a woman? Look at the biblical Eve as the origin of sin. Time and time again, women are the villains. Why is that? It goes back to this main point that women are oppressed by the patriarchy. Well, biology determines our sex, culture determines our gender. We talked about that. That's social constructionism. All feminist activity, including feminist theory and literary criticism, has as its ultimate goal to change the world by promoting women's equality. Remember, this isn't just about women being better than men. It's like literally just women being equal. Also, gender issues play a part in every aspect of human production and experience. This is another issue where you may not agree with this, but this is simply what feminist theory is. You have to assume this while you are using feminist theory. There's a concept that I won't cover very much right now called multicultural feminism, and it simply has to do with the intersectionality of things like race and ethnicity with gender and sex. Gender norms vary from one culture to the next, and that's something that multicultural feminism pays a great deal of attention to. Here are some feminist questions that you can ask to start a literary argument paper about feminist theory. What does the text reveal about the operations of the patriarchy? How are women portrayed? What does this work suggest about the ways in which race, class, and other cultural factors intersect with gender in producing women's experience? How is this work gendered? How does it define femininity and masculinity? All of these questions and more would make very great premises to writing a literary analysis paper. You answer this question about a piece of literature, and that answer becomes your thesis statement. Well, there you go. We've gotten through our 10 slides. That is your basic introduction to feminist theory.